Guys, I am back with a brand new Louis Vuitton review. Let's find out what's got me spinning in my chair. The Louis Vuitton Tambour Taiko Spin Time is not as new as you might think it is. It was initially released back in 2009 and actually developed for the luxury house by Michel Navas and Enrico Barbassini of B&B Concept. The initial idea actually came to Michel while he was waiting in an airport, seeing those old sort of spinning departure boards. It was revamped this year, just as the main Tambour line was back in 2023, with a reimagined new look. There are 6 models: Taiko Spin Time, Taiko Spin Time with diamond variation, Taiko Spin Time Air, Taiko Spin Time Air with diamond variation, Taiko Spin Time Antipod with world timer function, and a Taiko Spin Time Air Flying Tourbillon. All 6 have the standard LFT Spin Time calibre inside. Now this calibre is a base from which the brand does plan to build on moving forward, and the time can be set both forwards and backwards now, with 2 of these cubes jumping instantaneously thanks to Maltese cross gears on the back of each one. Now I've got 2 of these models right here in front of me. Let's dive in and let's find out what makes them so special. So originally we have the Taiko Spin Time. This is the base model. It has a white gold case, solid case back, measuring 39.5 millimeters across and 12.15 millimeters thick. So that is slightly thicker than the Tambour released a couple of years ago. But it is 100 meter water resistant thanks to its screw down crown. So that is actually an increase in the Tambour from 2 years ago, which only has 50 meters water resistance. Inside, we have the caliber LFT ST 13.01. Now, as mentioned before, this is the very baseline. So here we have minute hand in the middle and then 12 rotating or instantly jumping cubes going from dark blue to a light silver around the outside. It's an automatic movement with a rose gold rotor with 45 hours of power reserve, which isn't a lot in terms of industry standards, but you've got to remember this is a small movement. It does have to fit inside the dial space that we see here. This model will set you back $72,500. Now there is actually a diamond set version which has diamond indices on the dial and diamonds set around the bezel and on those lugs. It also has a hawk's eye center dial on it, which again just leans into that stone dial trend that we keep seeing cropping up more and more these days. And that one will set you back $145,000 US. Now the thing I love most about this base model here is not only is it a small compact case, but they've fitted it to an integrated rubber strap with that quite satisfying LV logo sort of repeated across as a texture more than a logo than anything else. This sits so comfortably on the wrist, and I've been wearing it for a couple of days now. I think it challenges most other sports watches that come on a rubber strap in terms of wearability, in fact. This is a case design that has so many details in it that don't scream, they don't shout, they whisper to you. And when you notice them, you can't stop looking at them. And while we still have the Louis Vuitton written out, the 12 letters of Louis Vuitton written out along this bezel and a nice subtle relief along the side of it, one thing that I've loved about this that differentiates it from the original Tambour of 2 years ago is the addition of the lugs. Now these lugs are screwed in. Now that means that they are able to finish these lugs to a much higher level than you would if the lugs were part of the case as it was machined out of the standard block of white gold. Now inside these lugs there is a concave surface which has been lasered to a matte finish. This gives an amazing level of contrast and actually matches the relief engraving on the bezel. Is there something I would change about the case? Maybe. I wouldn't mind it being a sapphire case back, but I can understand why not on this model. The movement isn't massive. It is finished to the same standards as the Tambour, which we'll get to in a second. But maybe we could get a glimpse of it in this model. What do you think? Next up, we have the Spin Time Air Flying Tourbillon. Now, this comes in a slightly bigger case size, 42.5 millimeters, and 12.45 millimeters thick. It's got a 50 meters water resistance, and as you can see, sapphire front and back, showing it's part of the Spin Time Air family, along with the standard model as well. Now, this case just screams that it wants to be worn. It's amazing being able to see straight through those rotating cubes, but also you get drawn in to the flower motif flying tourbillon cage in the center with this calibre LFT ST05.01. Now, this calibre has had to be completely reimagined from the one that we have in the base model just to fit that flying tourbillon in the center, meaning all of the movement works have got to be moved to the outside. As we can see, everything kind of is pushed to the perimeter on this movement, allowing that flying tourbillon, as it's quite a deep and tall component, to sit there in the center, spinning away, acting as our running seconds. Now, this case really is every millimeter of its 42.5 as it expands across the wrist with so much empty space, with being able to see straight through onto your wrist through the sapphire crystals. Now, the actual movement itself kind of appears to be floating in the middle of this case, which is pretty amazing. But in fact, it is being held in place by a third sapphire disc that is in the middle of the case band itself. Now, one thing that this release has really told me about Louis Vuitton's strategy moving forward is that this is the case design that they are sticking to. Now, the fact that we don't have any complications in the main Tambour line says that perhaps the Spin Time is where we're going to see LV really flex, or I should say La Fabrique du Temps flex their horological muscles moving forwards, while perhaps the Tambour will stay the clean, crisp sports watch that we know it to be today. This release also suggests to me that LV is doubling down on being an elevated, elegant time-telling house. It's reimagining complications with its efficient use of industrial finishes on the movement, for sure, but really going in on expressing time in imaginative ways. So we've seen it here with the Spin Time, we've seen it with the Convergence, maybe we'll see it with new releases coming out later this year. One factor that I can really appreciate with these models is how it seems to be pushing LV further and further into the conversation when we're talking about big in-house watchmaking brands. La Fabrique du Temps can do everything now: dials, cases, movements, all in-house. We knew that they were amazing watchmakers, but this proves it to me. This shows that they are serious players, and we just need to see if they have the longevity to really make it a go up in that top league. Out of these two watches, which one are you going for? Are you going for the smaller, compact Taiko Spin Time? Or are you going for the more expansive, more luxurious flying tourbillon? For me, I am always going to go with the smaller one. I'm always going to go for that original, reduced down 39.5mm Taiko Spin Time. But let me know down in the comments what you think. And guys, I'll see you on the next one.